Okay.
Does that sound good? Okay.
Good. Let's do it.
All right. All right. Well, if you introduce yourself for the people that don't know you, what's your name? What do you do?
Name, Sean Aeon. Occupation, author, uh, philosopher, I guess, by definition. Yeah, and I do that. I'm the author of this book. It's called The
Mm-hmm.
Outsider's Mind. And I am authoring my second book as well. So it's going to be releasing soon. So excited for that. And yeah, I've been writing for a while. The Outsider's Mind was just my first kind of foray into narrative. And, I wrote music before that. I was doing a bunch of different things, a bunch of different art. And yeah, I was actually just telling someone the other day that once the book was released, like this was kind of the first thing that people really gravitated to that, I created. So I've just been kind of following the momentum.
Yeah. 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 I love it. So, what's the Outsider's Mind about?
So we have a collection of short stories, um, monsters, mystery. Each one of the chapters is examining human nature through the eyes of a supernatural character, which I thought was a cool approach and that's what kind of embodies the outsider's perspective is these supernatural characters where they're
Mm-hmm.
like the zombies or the immortal beings or the hyper intelligent insects. They all have dealings with humanity, and through those dealings, kind of have their own assessment, which then gets explored through each one of the chapters.
Yeah. And how come you I know, I want to say, duh, of course you're an author. So, I mean, that would be a legitimate reason for the question I was getting
Sure.
ready to ask. But the question I was getting ready to ask is like, how come you tell stories in this manner, like through using the different characters that you've used? How come you don't just share the story
A
like
novel.
straight up, like as direct as possible?
Um, I love this because uh, Hans Christian Andersen. I got a hold of one of his collections of short stories,
Hmm.
and really just fell in love with that way and that style of storytelling. Um, just the shorter format. I mean, there's so many novels that I love, of course,
Hmm.
but being able to like do the short format, dive in, um, go on this just like Hans Christian Andersen just writes insane stories. So like go on this crazy ride over a few pages.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed the experience. Um, and then like kind of just a cherry on top to that was then I started like coming across a lot of movies that were then based off of short stories, almost as much as novels.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it just kind of like clicked in a lot of different ways for me, and I literally just tried it once. The first story that was actually written for the collection was the Undead Eye Will. That was just kind of like my first. I just kind of threw this story together and just kind of saw how I felt about it, and I enjoyed it. It's just one of those things where
Yeah.
things just kind of started feeling right, and yeah, just kind of continuing on with that.
Nice, 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 nice. I love it. Yeah, inspiration. And that's such a huge part. I think even with my own writing, it's like, oh man, definitely inspired by other works that I've read and then absolutely movies. And I guess that begs the question, like, why do you write?
In general.
Yeah, in general. Other than
Yep.
being inspired, like what else?
So that's interesting because like I was actually thinking about this like 2 days ago, and I was remembering when I I would actually be like, okay, if I had to like, I'm an only child, so like I would have to just be like carted around with my mom when I was like in high school, whatever, like on chore day or whatever, we're out getting the groceries done. And like I literally remember like I would just bring a notepad with me and a pen and just write
Mm,
literally about anything. Like if I just saw like two people arguing, if a car turned too fast, like it would just be just random anything, and it was fun for me. Like I was like, damn, like I remember actually like just writing for fun, like literally to just occupy boring what I thought was a boring time. Like I can just pick up a pen and have a piece of paper, minimal, not a whole lot to bring around,
right, right.
and doesn't need a charger. So like, and I would literally just like, I'd literally just walk around and just be like writing random. I was like super into poetry at the time, and like so I just be writing these little like whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one big reason. Like I was, it's fun. Like literally, this is just within the last week, just kind of remembering that like I do this for fun. Also, like I like legitimately enjoy it. Um,
Yeah.
and the other reason is really a big reason that I write is just I feel like we come across so much information, like our experiences. I've been like, it's been a thing. I've actually, now that I remember, I've been saying this since like first releasing the book 2 years ago now. Um, just like the way our experiences are so valuable, and how that's not always like a thing that gets emphasized through schooling or through even parenting. Like we don't always get that encouragement regarding the fact that our experiences, the way that we interpret our experiences, are the same, are needed. Like that's like I feel like there's that's so important to share
Mm-hmm.
our just that sharing of our perspective, that sharing of our experiences. So much of that goes into my writing, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just feel like that's very that's like a critical point to like a way broader thing, like really just like on a human level, as far as just like the human tribe is like
Mm-hmm.
that's how we survive, that's how we better enjoyed our experience from others sharing theirs. We gained
Mm-hmm.
wisdom from other people sharing their wisdom. um and like I feel like so much of that is like the scribes of like ancient whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
writing has always kind of been about that, like this preservation of
Yeah.
experience, this preservation of wisdom, this preservation of uh, our individual interpretation. That's why we wrote. We couldn't keep all this stuff in our heads, so we had to put it down
Right.
somewhere. And so I kind of feel like that same kind of push to be like, no, you got to write this down. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to write this down somewhere, especially when I know how other people's words have affected me. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you read something super dope, or like, again, like a lot of times in movies, because getting to hear someone verbalize or see them act out whatever this the monologue or the line is or what have you, and getting moved by that. Yeah, like then when you think of something that might move someone else, the value. Like I feel like there's just so much value there. um
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and not to get like super deep, but like I was just watching Midnight Gospel. Shout out to Midnight Gospel because I so want to be on Midnight Gospel. So I was watching the Midnight Gospel, and one of the episodes points out, he's the guy being interviewed, is like there's like a really interesting point in the Bible where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God." And he was like,
Mm.
"That's how important our words are." Like in the
Wow.
beginning, the word was God. So, and I was
Yeah.
like, damn, son. Like, yeah, that goes, and I feel like that translates even to just like, we get told from wiser people to, hey, watch what you say about yourself, because your words
Yeah.
are powerful. And, we're preserving some of that power, when we can write some of this stuff down. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. I could dig it. I could dig it because while I was listening to you, something that came to mind because someone had asked me a month or so ago, like, "Oh, why do you publish books?" And I kind of
Yeah.
I gave him the long story because of course we're storytellers, so you're
Of
gonna
course.
get the story. You're never gonna
It all
get the
started
direct
when
answer. I wish I could, but you're gonna get the story, right? So even this, you're gonna get the story right now, right? And so I was like,
okay.
well, I grew up with grandparents who were
Mm,
storytellers and witty as hell. Like my grandma, my grandpa, I remember being like my daughter's age, 8 years old, just kind of sitting
yeah,
at their feet, asking them hella questions, just because they always had a good story for every answer, right?
there it
And
is, bro.
so, and I remember when they passed, and I was like, damn, like, they didn't leave anything written down. Like amazing freaking
Bruh.
storytelling, but never
See?
wrote nothing, never recorded anything. And I said, well,
And
I said, for me, it's like leaving a legacy. Like
that
if I can
preservation.
publish as many books, write as many books, so people will know that I was here, and people will know that the people who I work with, the book writers that I work with, they will know that they were here, and
Real talk.
and so on and so forth. And it's kind of just like
It's how we live forever, bro. It's how we live forever.
right, exactly. Leaving a legacy, like, yeah. Even because you think about it, some of the authors that we appreciate have gone on, but we as readers, we
Bro,
still talk about them, and we still talk about their work,
absolutely.
and like you said, their wisdom that reigns forever. It's just crazy. I mean, man, if you
And
want to
that's
live
it.
forever, write a book, publish a book.
Uh-oh, put that on a t-shirt by G. She said, if you want to live forever, write a book.
Write a book.
All right, you heard it.
Yeah.
You heard it first here.
Share the knowledge,
And
you
I
know?
think and I guess as we're talking, I feel like that's like that preservation is really the name of the game. If you're dependent,
Mm,
if you're taking it, you know what I'm saying, if you're realizing where the history comes from, you know what I'm saying, as a storyteller, as a writer, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, there is who said it? Nina Simone. How what
mm,
the artist's responsibility is to oh my god, it's like the artist's responsibility is to like represent the times. It's I'm gonna butcher it. I'm not gonna butcher it, but like there is that responsibility of being an artist, of especially of being a writer, where it's like, yo, we don't even have an accompaniment. You know what I'm saying? Like the
mm,
pictures, you got it's in the words. You know what I'm saying? The narrator's in the
yeah.
words. You know what I'm saying? Like the mood is in the words. So it's like we're just out here. It's a very naked, it's a very naked form of expression as well. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
it's just you and your page. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really ain't no backup. You're the backup. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So, but yeah, definitely that preservation is just super, and just talking about like the parents and the ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Who are
Yeah.
also the storytellers. Like you said, it's the fact that they said so much. You know what I'm saying? And like
Right.
it's if we don't remember it, it's gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like that, and that puts a lot of pressure on us to remember a lot of things when it could be recorded in some sort of way. And
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like me and a friend of mine talk about the fact that like if all the computers shut down, if there's a solar flare right now, bro, and all the computers shut down, you can still pick up a pad, you can still pick up a pen, and you can
Yeah.
still tell your story, like regardless. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mm-hmm.
that type of expression is like it's here. It's here and it's not really going anywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I love the vibes. Okay. So let's get into some of the things that you've written. Let's talk about some
sure.
spooky stories. Which one do you
Yes.
want to start with first?
Let's go with just straight up. Let's go the Undead Eye, man. The zombie epic.
Okay. Tell me about it. What's the name? What did you say it's called?
So it's the Undead Eye. Let
Undead
me
Eye. Okay.
yes, let me get the illustration here as well. So the hardcover is illustrated. So that would be this is the illustration here for the Undead Eye.
Nice.
Little grave there in the middle. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. So story is told through the eyes of three different zombies. So you get three different zombie perspectives. And kind of what makes this different than your regular zombie story or a zombie storyline is that again, with the outsider's mind, with that theme of, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of this observation. So each one of these zombies has a different view of human nature through their post-human, I guess, mind, like this mind that used to be human but is now so
Mhm.
disconnected from that because of this disease. There's a disease in the story that has been produced that then is just affecting people in this way. So the story really is, and of course with the way that I love to tell stories is all of the stories are analogies, all of the stories are metaphors. So with the undead eye, you're having this metaphor of this view of those who are, the in group versus the out group. Those who used to be included are now excluded, and now they have a different view of what it means to be in this group, and now being on the outside looking in. So yeah, so that's what through these characters we get to kind of go into that world and see this from a perspective. Not too many times you get to see the mind of the zombified person, or get an interpretation of what that could be like.
Mhm.
So in between eating brains, there's some things going on as well. So yeah.
Yeah. How do you even get to that kind of place? Like, I always wonder about people who can write spooky stories or even like horror stories and even horror films. Like, how do
Right.
you get to that? How do you get to that place? Is there, I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it an open-ended question. You tell me.
Yeah. Honestly, it's because you start to see the connection. And like a big thing in my next book, and just what I've really been delving into, is this concept of interconnectivity, and really seeing that there are essentially universal parallels in everything. I mean, like if you take the time to look, you'll see how everything is like everything else. And so even with a zombie, it's like you put yourself, and we can just go where it goes. Like, I know what it's like to be on the out group. I know what prejudice feels like. I know what it's like to
Mhm.
be looked at as being different. So you take those, and this is some sauce for the writers, like you take those same experiences, and those are transferable experiences. The zombie is going to feel the same sort of judgment, so to speak, that you're going to feel if you're in a situation where people are judging you for something that you didn't choose. Like, no, most of the zombies don't choose to become zombies. They get zombied. It just happens,
Yeah.
and that's how it happens. And now they have to deal with the after effects of that happening to them. So none of us are born, none of us are chosen, none of us choose. God, don't let me sound like I can't write. Like, none of us choose none of us
Come on.
choose to be born. My
Yeah.
grammar just all over the place. But yeah, none of us choose to be born the way the way that we are, and
Mhm.
we can utilize that same parallel to look at a zombie not choosing to be a zombie, but now they have whatever that hurdle is in front of them, that opportunity is in front of them, to explore. So yeah.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. And so that's one of the many stories. Tell us about another one.
So
Give us
another
one more.
one, DJ Khaled voice. Let's see. Fan favorite actually, and is why in the revised version of the book, which is going to be this all black version, um, I moved it to the front. So uneven. Uh,
Mhm.
got so many people. I'm holding this camera. All right, here we go. Got so many people like shared the fact that they enjoyed that story, and just like the depth and the different ways that they enjoyed that story. I like made sure I moved it up
Yeah.
to the front. And that's another one of that's a trilogy in the book, broken up into 3 parts. And the first part is told from the point of view of a gentleman who has the power to turn himself invisible. And so this is kind of on the speculative sci-fi side, urban fantasy, where this we see how he gained this power and what it really means to him and his sister. He has a sister that he grew up very close with, and we get to kind of see, like, once someone is either considered themselves or considered by others to be special or have some sort of special ability, what what
Mhm.
what kind of effect that has on the people that they're closest to.
Mm.
So that's what we gets examined in that first part of the trilogy. The second one is told from the point of view of the sister. So then we kind of get to see her perspective on, you know, what this experience is like, and her being kind of ostracized and looked at as the, you know, the less talented or the less special of the siblings, and again what that means, and what that symbolizes. And we get to explore that. Some twists and turns along the way. It's a twisty one. Not gonna give anything away.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last of the trilogies is told again. Then we kind of pick up later on in the story. We catch back up with the brother and see kind of what's been going on in the time since the last time he saw his sister at the end of the second part of the trilogy, and now picking up in this third part. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's, and so many shouts out to everyone who like gave feedback, took the time to like, hey, I love the book, hey, this was like super dope. Like,
Yeah.
authors, I'm sure I can speak for every single one of them. Like, yeah, we live and die for the thoughts and
Yeah.
feedback, and just like the connection, you know what I'm saying, with those that read our stuff. Like, we take so much time and it
Yeah.
takes so much energy. Like, that's everything. So that is also the illustration for Uneven there, showing the
Mm-hmm.
some love, some balance. Is it's a bit of a love story, absolutely. Yeah, some just like really cool sci-fi elements, and introducing some cool fantasy elements as well. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, that was one of my favorite stories. I'm not gonna lie. I know when I was reading over your stuff, I was like, okay. After that one, I was definitely a fan. I was like, okay,
Appreciate you.
what? And it's a fab. She's one of the authors that I work with, dear friend.
Hey.
And so I'm so blessed to have her, and I'm glad she's on here. But something you were saying, and obviously it definitely resonated. Like, man, these reviews, obviously we're writers, but I mean, like, I feel like the bottom line to the core, it's like we're artists, right? And we're
Period.
definitely sensitive about our work. And I mean, we just are. And so it's like, man, but at the same time, and I don't know if I've asked you this before, but like, for some writers, they don't really, like, how do I want to say? They don't really,
Dramatic
I'm being
pause.
careful with my
Oof.
language here. I want to
Dramatic
say it,
pause.
but I want to be
Say it,
careful with
bro.
the words.
Man, say that.
I don't want to say, like, they don't write from a place that's like personal, right?
Right. No,
They
absolutely.
write for, like, it's just another thing. But I feel
Yeah.
like I don't
You
think
can
you
say it.
relate to that, right? You don't relate to that. Like, is your writing an extension of you, right? I know
Yeah.
earlier we were talking about writing from a place of experience and how sharing
Yes.
our experiences is important,
Yeah.
right? And my question back then was like, okay, how come you're not just straight up? But like, even with writing fictional stories, right? Like, that's still an extension of you and your experience, right? Correct? Yes, no? Do you want to elaborate?
I feel like it is Martin Scorsese. Um, I was doing like, yeah, he has a quote where he's saying, "That's where you
Yeah.
start." You know, like if you write the things. Oh, what do you say? Oh, got it. You write about the things that keep you up at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you, like,
There you go.
you pull from somewhere that people, and excuse my language, like, you pull from somewhere that people give a shit about. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where you're pulling
Mm-hmm.
from, the things that keep you up at night. So, but then, you know, I've 100% met plenty of directors, plenty of writers, plenty of like storytelling artists that they'll tell you like, no, like, I understand a story that people like to experience. I just write that type of story, and they know how to bust it out,
Yeah.
and that's what they do, yo. And it's work, and it's great work, and they have fun doing it. But like,
Yeah.
nah, I do not, I don't relate. I personally don't relate to that. Not, and there's nothing, of course, wrong with that. But there's nothing
Right,
wrong with
right.
anything. But like,
Mm-hmm.
not like but as a like a big as Kanye West energy, like, you know, not lately, geez, but like, you know, artistically, a Kanye West energy, like I feel I always rather have people say something than say nothing. I love, you know, say I rather get,
Mhm.
if I'm writing, if I'm pouring out, even if someone says they read it and it's like, oh well, this part didn't make sense to this part, well then they must have read it pretty thoroughly to pick up that they didn't feel like something made sense. You know what I'm
No, yeah,
saying?
this was yeah.
You know, it took you a while. You had to get
Mhm.
through some stuff. So, but no, like
Mm.
my writing is just, it's very much like, you know, I had to add something to my next book this morning, and I'm at the end of editing this thing. But like, it was something where it's like, I was like, wow, I felt like that was mind blowing to me. I need to share this. You know, like
Mm. Mhm.
I have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a part of, I feel like this is a part of it, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
because when I read books like The Alchemist, or I read books, which so many people talk shit about The Alchemist, but whatever. Like, when I read books like The Alchemist,
Mm.
or I read books like, uh, what's something off the top of my head? Dun, 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 dun. The Last Testament. Shout out to James Frey, because that's my currently my favorite author. So like,
Mm.
when I read something like The Last Testament of the Holy Bible, which is like this fictional story following like a modern day Messiah, and it's like, but I just feel like there are these books that are, even though they're fiction, we understand that like the writer is sharing something very, very real with us, even though
Yeah.
it's in the guise of this fictional story. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's part of the magic. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I fell in
Mhm.
love with science fiction primarily, is because like you look at so many science fiction works, and what they're doing is they're capturing this very real concept, this very tangible, very down to earth thing that we're all dealing with and wrestling with, and they're putting it in this science fiction, this space aged environment, and now it's so much more enthralling. You know, it's not just,
Mhm.
it's not just, people fighting, over, they're not fighting over the gas pump. You know what I'm saying? They're fighting over like planets or something. Like spaceships flying past
Right.
each other. You know that
Mhm.
that draws your attention in a little bit more. So,
Mm.
um, yeah. So I think did that answer the question? I think I at some
Yeah,
point.
no, you definitely answered it. You definitely answered it. But no, I was thinking, yeah, definitely because when you were talking, what came to mind was my English teacher, my high school English teacher.
Shouts out to all the
And
high school
really,
English teachers.
truly, yeah, when I fell in love with writing was like high school English. I was a part of the like advanced placement English writing class.
AP writing, yes.
AP writing. Loved
AP
it, loved
English.
it. But even
Did you
thinking
read the
about the
dictionary
books that
though?
we read,
Did you read the
right? Like
dictionary though?
Fahrenheit 451 or something like that, or
Okay.
something like that. I can't think of the exact name. But even then, and I remember like getting on Spark Notes, right? I don't know
Mm.
if you ever use
I remember
Spark
Spark
Notes.
Notes. Huh? Everybody
Getting
used
on
Spark
Spark
Notes.
Notes and like how they like broke down the book, and even like as a
Mm.
publisher, I think, man, I need to start updating Spark Notes with some of the books that
Oh
I've published
snap!
or whatever, because there's always messages,
Interesting.
like there's always underlining subliminal
That part.
messages. And if you're an intelligent reader, or if you could just read between the lines, sometimes a lot of the
Right.
stories do have subliminal messages. And even as a parent, like I'll go to the movie theaters with my daughter and see these little subliminal messages, and I'm like,
Listen, man.
damn, wow, they got
Absolutely.
that in there sneaky. Like a kid is going over their head, but like
That
as a
part.
parent, you're like, wow, okay,
Yo, hold on. We gotta pause and touch on that right there, because what's so
okay,
interesting about that is like that happens with adults as well. So where
okay,
so not everyone is going to, like, you that subliminal message, that having that being an inquisitive reader. um
yeah,
so not everyone is going to read, it's still art, where everyone is not going to see the same thing or read the same thing, even if they're reading the
mm-hmm.
same page. So and I think that's and again, that adds, that's where, there's so much when you talk about how your approach to writing, and if you're just kind of like writing to, bang out another series, or if you're writing because like
Mm-hmm.
something has happened to you, and like, you know, I'm looking at this, my second book, I'm looking at it like an Adele album. You know what I'm saying? Like, things have happened. Things have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like, there's, I'm not the only one that can utilize this and gain perspective the same way
Mm-hmm.
that I gain perspective. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like, so I really think that does speak to like where, you know, that approach as well, you know, like where you're pulling from as far as your writing, because yeah, like, you might put something in there, and you, even you as a writer, you think it's clear. Like, you think
Mm-hmm.
you've plainly stated something you want people to understand, and not everyone is, you know, there's still so much interpretation. Like, it's still art.
Yeah.
It's still art. So yeah, that over the head stuff, it's not just for the kids either. Some stuff be going over, you know, the adults' heads, and some adults are gonna catch it.
True, true, and it's and back to what we were saying earlier. Like, it's based on your own life experience. Like, if you've
Definitely.
never really experienced something, it's gonna go over your head. Like, you just are not gonna get it.
And that's
And
okay.
that's what I love.
That's okay.
Like, and that's okay, and that's okay. But I think, like, but for the people who it does reach, and for the people that do get it and that pick up on those little, like, hidden gems,
The
it's
nuances.
freaking is so beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
delicious. Like, even as a reader, like, I'm such a fan. First of all, I'm such a fan of the people that I get to work with. Fabs, I'm definitely a fan. I'm definitely a fan of yours, of course. Like, I'm a reader who, like, if I'm moved by something, bro, I brought my journal out because I was like, well, let me see if I might need to use this to ask questions. But definitely, there's some pages in here about the stuff that you've written. And
Appreciate
then
that.
even with Fabs, like, there was a time where I was supposed to be formatting her book, bro. I wasn't even supposed to be reading it. I'm in tears reading this stuff. Like, wow,
Whoa.
so moved. And like, that's why it's important for me to, like, know, like, why do people write sometimes? Like, is this just something for you to write and just to get out? Because I think,
Right.
like, even like in this era that we're at, like, experiencing as a collective, like, people so bad want authentic stuff. Like, be for real, like, be for real, like, come on, like, let's stop with the fake and the phony and stuff like that. Especially if you live in LA, you know what I'm talking
Let's
about.
go.
Cut the flashy BS, like, let's be
Ah.
for real, like, come on. And so I think that it's so important and it's definitely needed. And I'm getting so hyped because, man, that's just that just is like gravy to me. It's like, it's so good. I don't know. I don't know. There wasn't a question there. I was just simply sharing,
Not
but
necessarily.
there wasn't a question there. I don't think. Did I ask anything? No. But I was just saying, like, it's the authenticity of it all is important in writing, and like you said, sharing your experience. But something that I've been real sensitive to lately, and I don't know. I don't know why. I think there's just, I'm coming to an understanding that people just express themselves in the way that they're going to express themselves.
They will.
But a lot of people who are talented artists, whether it's in writing books or whether it's like painting and like illustrating, a lot of people aren't sure if they're good enough. And I'm like, damn, well, why don't you, like, put it out there and find out?
Right.
And there's that fear of not being good enough really holds a lot of people back.
And
And
listen.
I'm just
And
like, I don't know
and
what to do
listen.
about that, but I feel their
Oh.
emotion, and it's like, man, this is terrible. I feel
Okay.
terrible for them. And so I don't know. How did you, I guess, have you ever experienced that, and how did you overcome it if you did?
Oh. Okay. That's okay. I didn't know which direction I was gonna go. Okay.
I would say no.
Yeah, Rob. I was about to jump in on like a couple parts. All right. This went different. This went different than where I was thinking. Okay. How did I overcome that? Honestly, like, man, I'm not a good person to ask. Only because, like, I feel like I've been putting my stuff, like, just throwing it out there and testing the waters for like a long, like, that hasn't been the thing for me, I guess. Like, I've always kind of been okay with being like, yo, if I do something, if I put the energy in, and maybe this is like something to kind of impart, just to kind of have a perspective change. It's like, bro, if we put the energy in these hours, like, it needs to be out there. Like,
Yeah,
like, and I think that,
regardless.
like that's just how I feel about it. It's like I put too much work into it for it not to be out there. So, and I guess that's always just kind of been the perspective. So I never really
Mm.
looked at it in a way where it was like apprehensive about putting it out there. Nah, bro. Like I'm most of my issues is that I want to put it out too fast, and then it's like no, you gotta like take your time, like double read it again, read it again.
Yeah.
You know what are you doing right now? Read it again. You know what I'm saying? So like, but I just want to. I'm like, no, I've written it already. It's created. I want it out. Like I want people to. I want it. So like, that's been a different thing for me. What I was actually going to comment on, because I didn't know what direction I was going, but what I was going to comment on
Mm-hmm.
is that apprehension. And listen, man, like at the end of the day, we get to choose this thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's going to put a gun to your head and be like, put your art out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, and
Mm.
that goes for all of life. So 99% of the situations we end up in, nobody's putting a gun to our head. So like, yo, if you want to make your art and not put it out because you feel however you feel,
Mm-hmm.
you're either gonna, it's like every situation, you're gonna get to a point where that's either gonna be a problem for you, where it's like, nah, bro, I can't keep making this stuff and not putting it out, and
And not
seeing
putting it out. Yeah.
other artists putting their stuff out, and I'm like, nah, I mean, my stuff looks just as good as that. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right.
you're either gonna get to a point where that becomes an issue, or you're gonna not get to a point where that doesn't be, where you get, that's not ever gonna become an issue. In which case,
Mm-hmm.
this life, it's not for everybody. And like, I'm gonna just,
Mm-hmm.
let's be on the real of the real. It's not for everybody. Everyone's not
Mm-hmm.
an artist. That's why all these artists committing suicide and all. Like, bro, you're
Yeah.
opening yourself to a lot of opinions, a lot of people's energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
an undertaking as well, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's base barter principles. Actually, that's a good segue. Base barter principle is one of the philosophies in The Outsider's Mind, in the philosophy section. And basically what
Yeah.
that's really illustrating is the fact that there is always an exchange of energy. Always an exchange of energy. Yeah, if you flip back to the philosophy section, I'm going to say, starting at page 170, you can flip a little further. The base barter principles in there, but we're always, like, don't think any artist is just gaining from their experience. No, it's a trade-off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's awesome to be able to put art out there and have people pay you for the things that you literally came up with in your head in your bedroom, you know, but you're also open to those opinions that you may not want. Like, we go back to what you were saying. You're putting a
Yeah.
personal part of yourself out there, and people can say whatever they want, and they have the right to. They
Yeah.
have the right to, because you chose to put it out there. Nobody
Yeah.
forced you to do so. And there's actually, oh man, I'm getting into the good stuff from the next book. There's a quote, there's a line from my next book, bro, that says,
Really?
yeah, line from the next book where that says, uh, I couldn't reap the, I couldn't read. I'm butchering it. Perfect. So it's going to be new. It's going to not even be the same thing when you read it in the book. So essentially, what it's describing is the fact that you you can reap the benefits, but you also have the opportunity to reap the grim. It's a play on the
Mm-hmm.
grim reaper. So
Mm-hmm.
so there are a lot of benefits to being an artist, and a benefit of putting your work out. There's also some things you
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? On the flip side of that, without even being famous, bro, without even
Yeah.
having experiencing that level of notoriety, like,
Mm-hmm.
just dealing with people have your family having things to say, because you know what I'm saying, like, you want to put this
Come
out, and
on.
that's going to
Yeah.
be your path or what have you. So yeah, it's very much, I think the anxiety is almost warranted, but so you should know what it is that you're stepping into, and you should step forward
Right.
confidently, or you should work on yourself in those other areas to make sure that when you step forward, you're stepping forward confidently. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
not to like spiral or whatever, but I think that's a big part of like what happens to like so many artists. You have like a Juice World, bro, that like that's dead at 21. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, like there's a lot of mental preparation, you know what I'm saying, that is necessary to like navigate just being an artist, period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't know what that means to like to put your work out there and just be at the mercy of the opinions of others. We can say we don't care what people think all we want to. I don't care what nobody
Mm-hmm.
thinks. I'm an artist. I put it out there. It doesn't matter what anybody got to say. Nah, bro,
You
you
know?
care. You care,
Yeah.
bro. Everybody
Yeah.
cares. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, yeah, I don't know if that was a question or an answer or anything, but yeah,
No,
just
we
that.
just vibing. Yeah, no, perhaps put still a vulnerable position to be in. Yeah, naked and vulnerable. Absolutely. And especially if you know that it's not just coming from a place of, oh, these kind of books sell, so I'm gonna write this.
Yeah,
Especially if it's coming from a place of, yo, this is partially based on my experience, or this is what I experienced,
right,
and I'm just sharing it this way. And definitely. And I want to say, man, being in this position as like publishing books, writing books, a lot of personal growth has had to happen. Like
yes.
you said earlier, free will. You're either gonna grow with it, or
Or
you're
you
gonna
don't.
succumb to the pressure, because there definitely is pressure without even being some big name. Like
Right,
there could be this internal thing, this internal pressure to perform well,
absolutely.
depending on, of course, there's a bunch of childhood, all this stuff that we're just experiencing as people, as humans, without even the title as
Right.
being like an artist or whatever, like just our human nature experiences and stuff like that. And so that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. And so, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yo.
This was good. This was good. Unfortunately, I have to
That's
let
perfect.
you go.
That's
I have
perfect,
another
man.
call I got to take care in a little bit.
All right, yo.
But anything else? What can we expect from you in the next 3 to 6 months, bro? What you got going on? And we'll wrap up with this last thing.
For sure. First and foremost, SeanEon.com. This is my first and last name. Where's that? There you go. That's me. SeanEon.com. Go to the website. The website has like everything. I break down a lot of the philosophies with the book. I put a lot of work into the website, so definitely check out the website. You can order the book from there. It'll give you all the links to the what do I want to say? The associated retailers, so the Amazons, the Barnes and Nobles. It'll direct you everywhere. Give you a lot of info on the book in the next 3 to 6 months. Planning on an NFT release. Planning on releasing the second book. You know what? We can do a heard it here first, because you're the homie. Like 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. For book 2. Um,
Okay.
yeah, just kind of, yeah, like why not? Let's do that. So like 12, 12 is definitely book 2.
Love
Definitely
it.
not, can't say the title yet. But I'm so excited for book 2. Basically, for those that have read The Outsider's Mind, for those that are looking to read The Outsider's Mind, it's very much a journey, a philosophical journey, very much and this is some super saucy ahead of the time sauce, where book 2 is really getting into exploring the way the spiritual and the scientific are speaking the same language. Getting into the way a lot of parallels, a lot of illustrating interconnectivity, showing the way that religion and science aren't saying anything different, the way that our interpretations based on whether we're looking at things through a masculine lens or looking at things through a feminine lens, how those interpretations aren't at odds, they're complements. So it's looking at a lot. It's very much exploring duality, dichotomy, and just kind of the oneness that is very much apparent once we start to understand a lot of what's going on around us. So yeah, super excited for book 2. And so yeah, definitely follow at Sean Aeon, check out the website, all that, to keep in touch with all that, keep abreast with everything that's coming down with that. Yeah, it's going to be a photo book as well. This is definitely the saucy on the sauce photo book. All like these photo, literally just it's inspired. The whole book is inspired by the city of LA. My experience here over the
Love it.
last 2 years, 3 years has just been extraordinary. And yeah, I love this place. I love the energy. And so yeah, I was just so pushed and pulled to utilize these experiences just and utilize the uh man, like the blessing of coming getting here from the East Coast and just being able to really experience this place and like yeah, capture some of those stories and the man, just like the wisdom that came from, you know, just having my eyes and ears open and my feet on the ground here. So yeah, super excited for the next book. And yeah, yes.
All right. I love it. I can tell you're so excited.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. You guys check him out. Follow my friend. And yeah, until next time, you guys take it easy.
Yes.